In your hands, you hold a brand new copy of the game, Suzerainty. It's snugly wrapped in a skin of plastic. The cover features a charming illustration depicting a mass of grinning laborers loading goods onto a ship, while a richly dressed administrator oversees their work. The exact location and time period are left deliberately vague, but it's clearly meant to represent the economic relationship between the Revacholian suzerainty and its many vassals. The box has a nice heft to it. You hear the rattle of individual wooden tokens and feel their weight shifting back and forth. What treasures wait in store for you? Even before you open it, you can tell that this will be a meaty game of grand strategy and complex player interactions. The plastic wrap rips off as easily as a bodice in a tawdry historical romance. There's a hiss as the lid slides off. Inside, you find a thick, full-color rulebook and more than a dozen pouches of various wooden components. Savor that new board game smell. A mix of wood, paper, and ink, all wrapped in the sweet must of cardboard. Welcome to Suzerainty, a game of economic strategy for the whole family. The rulebook is sumptuously illustrated and thick as a Gradian novel. The colorful illustrations depict cheerful workers picking apricots, hauling marble sculptures out of crumbling temples, and harvesting a strange magenta-leafed plant. Everyone is smiling. You begin to suspect there may be a political agenda to this so-called family game. Only one way to find out. The instructions are opaque at first and introduce many concepts you're not familiar with. Fortunately, there are many diagrams and examples throughout. You soon figure out the basic conceit. Each player represents an administrator for the suzerain of Revachol. Your objective is to increase the suzerain's wealth and renown by accumulating victory points. That's where the suzerain's vassals come in. The game features 4 vassal nations, each one home to an economically important resource. Each turn, the player collects resources from vassals where they've placed workers. They may then rearrange their workers, fulfill contracts for coin and bonuses, or build structures back in Revachol. As you leaf through the pages, your eye catches on a sidebar labeled Advice for Beginners. The actual scoring system appears infinitely complex, with a series of tables and appendices required to compute each player's final victory point total. You skip that part for now. You open up a number of pouches containing wooden tokens. There are also several punch boards with other cardboard components that will need to be punched out before you can play. Each cardboard token makes a satisfying ch as you pop it out. Soon, a neat pile of cardboard coins and counters has accumulated before you.
What? You're not going to offer to let me punch any of them out?
In addition to the worker and building tokens used by each player, there are also several piles of colorful resource tokens, each representing one of the game's 4 principal resources. From the Empire of Safre, orange apricot tokens. From Ilmarat, the ancestral name of Ilmara, grey marble block tokens. From the Seminine Islands, white sacks of sugar tokens. And from Supra Muindi and Sarah Maritza, magenta tokens for unprocessed cocaine leaves.
Oh, those are nice.
You hold the open game box before you. The lieutenant looks over the rulebook before he sees something that makes his eyes go wide.
Holy shit. The average playing time for this game is 1 to 6 hours. I'm not sure we can afford to set aside that kind of time for a game.
What is detective work if not an elaborate game? You need logical inference, attention to detail, the ability to analyze your opponent's motives.
I do feel like my thinking has become somewhat rigid. Maybe a little diversion to keep the mind limber is just what's in order.
See? He's doing the hard work himself. All he needed was a little nudge.
Alright, you've convinced me. How do we play? I see you bring the same unorthodox technique to playing board games as you do to detective work. When I thrash you, I want to make sure it's by the book.
The lieutenant flips through the manual more quickly than you're able to keep up with. Then you each take your bag of tokens and counters and unfold the board between you. In the center is the crown of Revachon. Radiating outward are her colorful vessels, each one supplying some raw material desired by the suzerain. Apricots from Safre, archaeological treasures from Ilmarat, sugars from the Seminine Islands, and magenta cocaine from Supra Muindi and Sarah Maritza. There's also a neat little log to keep track of your progress in case you need to put the game away and return to it later. The lieutenant goes first. He draws a contract card and moves several of his workers to the Safre territory of the board, and the others to the Seminine Islands.
All right, detective, your turn.
You have a few options available to you. Will you try to fulfill contracts right away, or rearrange your workers to maximize production on future turns? Remember what the rulebook said. You will want to choose a strategy early on and stay committed to it. What? It's the very beginning of the game. Your workers haven't even done any work yet. That's more like it. You produce a handful of archaeological treasures and a smattering of other resources. Meanwhile, the lieutenant spends 2 of his sugar and 1 of his apricot tokens to complete his contract card. He is rewarded with 4 coins and a round wooden token that he places in the center of the board.
That's a market. It's worth 2 victory points. Don't worry, it was mostly just luck. You'll earn some points soon enough.
What is that patronizing tone? You're one of the suzerain's trusted administrators. You may need to put the lieutenant in his place. The lieutenant returns your baleful look with a satisfied grin. Come on, is that your game face? You're practically broadcasting your position to the lieutenant with that expression. Glancing over the board, you see several possible strategies. Pressing more workers into service would increase your economic output and help you to survive a possible conflict with the lieutenant. Or you could ignore your labor supply and focus on fulfilling contracts for points and resources. Those aren't your only options. You could also show your workers how much you appreciate them by investing some of that wealth in them. After all, they're the ones producing wealth for the suzerain. Well, sure, you can do that. It's just not a terribly effective strategy, but then it's up to you. To the lieutenant's puzzlement, you spend several turns building various improvements to your territorial infrastructure. Soon, your workers have access to clean water, paved roads, and basic hobbies. In return, they produce one extra resource per turn.
Too bad investing in your workers just isn't worth many points. Take a look at the scoring tables in the back. You see in Table 8C that investing in territorial infrastructure multiplies your final victory point total by 1, which is to say not at all. Whereas erecting monuments in Revachol gives you a multiplier of 5. Yes, precisely.
Now it's the lieutenant's turn to respond. He moves aggressively onto the Safre territory. Soon, his workers are producing a steady supply of extremely valuable apricots. For several turns, you struggle to respond to the lieutenant's burgeoning apricot empire. Eventually, you relocate the majority of your workers to Supremawindi and Saramaritsa, where they begin producing a bumper crop of cocaine tokens. You draw a new contract card. According to the text, there's an aristocrat willing to trade a large supply of cocaine for a number of coins and access to a rare bonus. Amplified music worth 7 victory points. You know, this isn't unlike the situation the historical Revacholian suzerainty faced in Safre in the middle of the last century. Well, the suzerain was looking for new markets for all the cocaine it was producing, and it settled on Safre. By introducing cocaine into Safre under exclusive contract, the suzerain created an extremely valuable captive market for an extremely addictive product. If you could somehow get the lieutenant's workers addicted to your cocaine, you could not only make them less productive, you would also force the lieutenant to pay you for your cocaine tokens each turn. Yes, you can. It's right there in the rules. Now's your chance. Show the lieutenant what happens when he patronizes you. You've reached a critical strategic juncture. How do you respond to the lieutenant's aggression? With each passing turn, you slowly bleed the lieutenant of coins as his own workers become less productive and more dependent on your magenta cocaine tokens. As a matter of historical fact, this is almost exactly what happened in Safre. To this day, fully half of the former Safre Empire remains dependent on international aid in exchange for a steady supply of cheap produce.
More or less.
Realizing victory is slipping away, the lieutenant launches a desperate gambit. Protectionism. By erecting tariffs on your cocaine, he hopes to starve you out of the market at the risk of incurring the suzerain's disfavor. The end game is upon you. Do you escalate the trade war with the lieutenant in hopes of crushing him with your economic might? Or do you ignore his aggression and focus on building the mighty victory column structure in Revachol herself? Alternatively, you could throw the whole game away by trying to build a public education system for the children of your workers. The choice is yours. The lieutenant nods gravely as you erect tariffs against his apricots and sugar. This is going to get ugly. With every turn, tariffs are raised until neither you nor the lieutenant are producing any income or generating resources for the suzerain. Even in the best of cases, it's impossible to really win a trade war. But this is far from the best case, and the lieutenant's apricot-powered economic engine crushes yours. Soon, your coffers are empty, and the map lies strewn with your worker tokens.
I hope you learned your lesson. Never fuck with Kim Kitsuragi. Now, let's tally up the scores, shall we?
Computing the final scores is almost a game unto itself. You each spend an inordinate amount of time making stacks of coins, consulting tables, and struggling with basic addition and multiplication. After double, then triple checking your maths, you have your final score. -5 victory points. You'll be lucky if the suzerain doesn't have your whole family executed for such a pitiful performance.
I've got 15 points. Don't look too glum, detective. There's always next time. Figuratively, I mean. There's no way we have time to play this game again. Now, let's clean up and get back to work.
You hold the open game box before you. The suzerainty box. A skiff with a small steering engine in the back floats on the calm mirror of the sea. Its 2 seats are empty. Once you get in, that's it. One pull of the starter handle, and you're off into the bay. A strange trepidation comes over you. Are you sure you want to go now? Have you made all the necessary preparations? Closed all your accounts? Remember what the net picker said. It's a small tank. You won't be going back and forth on this. The skiff floats on the... Once you get... Have you... Remember what the net picker said. It's a small tank. You won't be going...
What? Fine. Let's blast SAD FM then.
SAD FM is a radio station specializing in sad, slow rock songs. You seem to know its frequency by art.
Want to be free. Want to be free. It will last forever. Eternally. Want to be free. Want to be free. It will last forever. Want to be free. Want to be free. It will last and the trees are green and overhanging, feather light free and everlasting. And the trees are green and overhanging, feather light free and everlasting. Want to be free.
The boat comes to a slow stop. The lieutenant turns the engine off. Then there's silence. In the silence, a sputter of wings. A flock of quails takes off in the distance. Let's go. chain trails off into the ocean, connecting the island to the supply depot on the coast.
Ah, yes, so it seems. For bringing munitions to the island, maybe? And supplies? You could also lock the bay when you raise the chain.
As a defensive measure, lock it off that side of the bay.
From enemies of the commune of Revachol. This sea fort was a revolutionary fortification, I believe.
The dry grass crackles under your feet as you stop. Far away, birds' wings touch the still surface of the sea. The flock of quail departs, now more than 100 meters away, 102, 105. On the islet, there is almost no wind, just the light movement of air through the reeds. Bulrushes swaying on the waterline, long dried leaves chafing against each other. Like a silent orchestra tuning at the beginning of some major work. Of great importance to the few who attend. A silent hiss, sea air moving through the needles of a pine tree. The faraway roar of the city, distant like today's dream. Before it, the sound of sand, the low tide filtered through its grains, a bird tending to its feathers. A low hum. The air slowly moves through a concrete box, through its ancient slits and cracks, resonating, hollow, a big building. Air flows out of a pillbox window. There is very little there. The air cossets flowers on a meadow. Absolute silence. Reeds motionless. Bulrushes motionless. Air flows out of a col de Mamadakwa.
Yes? It is. Is that why we are stopping?
The lieutenant nods.
Yes? I have. Is that why we're stopping?
ICM? This feels familiar somehow.
Insulindian Citizens Militia. It's the official name of the Communards Army, the black and white army of the revolution.
Sounds an awful lot like.
It does. The RCM may descend from the ICM. It's impossible to say. It was chaos after the war. The name was good for getting people to join us. Revachol West was mostly workers and criminals.
Nice political thoughts rush through your neocortex. It's going to be hard to say them. Carrying around all that weight on a busted crutch is making you pant.
There were all sorts of groups and groupuscules back then. It doesn't really matter. No, an upside-down star.
With its horns in the sky, the symbol of the commune.
No, that's the uninhabited archipelago.
A DeLorean-era symbol of Insulinda, known as the face in the sea.
After 44 years? That's not nearly enough to hide what happened here, Lieutenant Freighter. One of these barrels was still leaking fuel, as you saw. The city is full of things like this. Old bullets, guns, fuel.
An old cylindrical generator is nested above the ammo lift, with makeshift electrical wiring running out of its side and across the floor. The cables disappear into the wall to your right. The lieutenant puts his hand on the metal barrel, checking for warmth.
It's cold now, but someone has been maintaining it. The wiring has been repaired. Downstairs, somewhere? Liquid carbon. I would imagine it takes mazout. The kind that's favored by vagrants and fuel thieves. It's been a long winter, long and cold.
If anyone stayed here, they'd need a generator. The hollow ring, the canister is empty. Dust falls from the generator and down into the ammo lift.
I don't know. I'm not a philosopher. Someone with basic electrical skills has restored it in order to keep the room warm. Maybe it's the fire guy.
The wind outside picks up suddenly, with a faint howl. Inside, it's warm. Oh, glorious Fulmir, you wear the full set like a true-born hero. The ultimate performance of fun flows in you. You are next century personified, the synthetic man. Go on. The fucking sunset awaits, Fallen Rider. Books and magazines lie scattered on the floor and on a makeshift cupboard. They are not particularly well organized. Most are soft covers, serialized fantastique and detective stories from the 20s and 30s. This disparate digest includes the classic Animal Adventures, popular depictions of man versus nature by amateur naturalists T&T Harpin, husband and wife, widely read by people from all walks of life. Who doesn't like nature? Who doesn't want to survive? Among what is mostly commercial fiction and serialized stories, you find a magazine cathodique for electrical engineering. Then it's back to pulp. Light erotica, an international thriller about circuit benders.
Someone's made themselves a home.
Soft covers, serialized. Oh yes, under the bed, there is a rather extensive collection of critical theory, that is, dour, life non-affirming left-wing literature, published by small imprints such as Abattoir Firm and Elysium. It's not exactly light reading.
Ooh, Sia. I agree. Humanitarian sciences. It stands out. Not a lot of critical theory around in Havashol West.
Your incendiary remark has failed to provoke him. Wasn't there some in the communist students' room?
Well, yes. That one student did.
The little books seem inconsequential next to the big pile of frivolous entertainment covering them.
Again, I am not a philosopher, but whoever has lived here, they have some education and a certain set of interests.
Interesting. There's a greasy old spring mattress in the corner, resting on piles of soft cover books. White linen and a pillow are visible under a worn-out caracal blanket.
Someone has been squatting here. The linen is fresh, recently washed.
You force the rest of the sentence out through pain, thick as molasses, no longer able to hear yourself speak.
You know, officer, you can rest here if you are feeling tired. I will keep watch. You could use some rest for what's ahead. Yes, anytime. If you need a rest later, it's okay by me.
You don't have to be a hero. You see a small metal door nested inside a larger one, a heavy steel blast door. There is a conventional keyhole above the handle. It's very small.
Another part of the island, probably. The lock looks like it could still be usable. Maybe this is one of the doors we don't open?
He's right. It would be better to open its big brother. A powerful engine hangs under the ceiling. It must control the blast door.
I think there's a console just southeast. Let's look around. Getting the blast door open seems like the best plan.
Green paint flecks off the monoblock aluminium cabinet. There are rows of switches on the front panel, a frequency band, and even a keyboard. The keys rattle like teeth. This keyboard hasn't been functional in decades.
The console of an antique computation device. The generator upstairs, with wires coming out, they terminate here. Possibly. Urgence, ouvert, allumé, radiodiffusé. It sounds like this device was used to control the electronics here. Maybe it still does.
This device was used to control the electronics in the room. It could open doors, control lights, function as a radio computer. Nothing happens. The dial slides under the glass, silently. You make out defunct stations on the UKV frequency. The words, Feld Insula, are written on the band. An idea lights up in your head.
This is an air-gapped system. Of air, I think they call it. That won't work. No, I'm not. But it would not be very good military technology if programmer ladies could control it remotely. Also, it's ancient, incompatible. We need to restore power before using this, officer. The generator, it didn't look like there was fuel in it. We should look around outside. There are barrels all over. Maybe one of them still has something in it.
The boat engine.
But officer, then we would have to swim back to the mainland. Let's just look around, okay?
The consul stands by, mutely. Urgence ouvert reads a dial key. Allumé reads another. The frequency band says, radio diffuser. greasy old spring mattress lies in the corner. Fresh linen under the heavy caracal.
The offer still stands. Take it. You don't look so good.
You face the concrete wall. There's less light there, in the dark corner. Like a dog, you lie there. The blanket feels cold. The entire room does. Concrete and cold. Minutes pass. Half an hour maybe. The sounds of the sea beyond grow distant. Your eyelids close until you feel yourself standing up in the darkness, right next to the mattress. Slowly, the world begins to hatch from the blackness. It's evening. Dolores Day, the innocence of humanism, internationalism, and the welfare state turns around to face you. She has an airship airbag in her hand. She seems to be in a hurry. Okay, don't say you need to talk right away. Melt the ice first. This way you're already talking. But you don't even want to talk to her. She would only be cold and mean. Let her go. Let her go? This is the Holy Queen of the territories of Muindi and Insulinda. Think of the historic knowledge we could glean. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win her back. Win her back? How does that fit in here? And what is the Holy Suzerain doing here anyway?
I'm going to Morova, to live there in Grad. It's 1 million kilometers away, Harry. Might as well be another lifetime. I'm sorry. I was heading to the aerodrome. I just don't have time to...
She means she doesn't have time to tend to your emotions. What are you doing? Stop saying things like that.
Just my scepter, my globe cruciger, a spare silk gown, a toothbrush, travel documents, the crown of immortality. Oh, this. This is just a wreath. The crown of immortality is made of rarefied light, mana and raw palladium. It was passed on to me by the rulers of late antiquity.
She looks at the suitcase, not knowing what more to say. Then, over her shoulder.
Anyway. No, Harry. No. I don't want a massive, epic showdown. I want to go to the aerodrome. I have tickets for the 10:20 flight to Morova. Really. We don't have anything to talk about anymore. Every combination of words has been played out. The atoms don't form us anymore. Us. Our love. Our unborn daughters. It's all gone. I have to go to the aerodrome. I have to leave Revachol and you. And you have to be alone. In hell. Forever. That's just the way it is.
Oh God, whatever you do, don't try to kiss her yet. Not after that. You're still reeling. You'll fall over if you try now.
It's not, but... I don't know why I said but. There is no but. That's it, yes. We've talked about it 1,000,000 times. You will get over it, just like I did. People do. Things will get good for you again.
Where in hell? Stop. You're only making it worse for him. You never help with anything.
It just takes some time. For you, I think it will take something like 20 years, maybe? It was hard for me too, you know? I used to think I couldn't live without you. But I can.
She keeps her shoulders squared and her back straight, but it's clear you're still making her sad.
Yes. It only took me 1 year, maybe 2. Phew. Yes. But that time is gone now. So very gone. It's okay. No, Harry. We can't. We already tried again, and it didn't work.
Is that how it is now? We should just try all good things twice and then give up. By that logic, not you too.
I don't know. Please. Harry, we can't be together because you're insane.
She avoids turning them to you. They're turning moist now. Her eyes. She slowly shakes her head and tries to get hold of herself, brushing her hands in her gown.
You know what I mean. A little down. You've worked there for so long, you can't even talk like a normal person anymore. It's always lists with you. Questions.
Questions? Did someone say questions?
This is another list, isn't it? It's not just the lists. You get sad, Harry. Too sad. People can't get that sad. It's impossible to watch. Other people get sad too, but not like you. You stay down for too long. Until you start giving your thoughts names and talking to things. In conclusion, you're ill. You're an old, insane man. And you have to be in hell until the end of your life. And I have to go to Morova. I don't know what you mean. Dolores Day. Oh, Harry, you shouldn't have done that. Call me like that.
You ruined it. There was still a chance. You should have waited longer. She would have called you instead.
They shouldn't have. They really shouldn't. I was in Morova already. Safe. In the warmth of the night. Wrapped in my future love. There, I think of you less and less. Whole weeks go by without me remembering you. Months already. Soon it will be years without the hurt. I sit there in Morova, in the holy gratitude of my bliss. I put my hand on my belly and smile.
The air gets cold around you. She looks down on her stomach, then up at you. Her eyes are full of tremendous distance and mystery. The death blow is coming. Black-eyed dogs wander the alleys. Apple trees hang their bony limbs low over the patchwork of roofs, red and black. Revachol West, the evening sun, she's left and bloomed, far away from us, our vast soul. It's Dora. That's what the voice said on the phone. Dubois, yes, Dora Dubois.
Why what? Oh no, no. We're not doing that again.
That was not the death blow yet. You saved yourself. For now. Keep stumbling around and it will happen.
The morning? I don't understand. Oh my God, Harry, stop. I don't want to hear anything about the morning. Mourning someone who's still alive. Any of that. I can't do that anymore. I'm not 80 years old, I'm 32. People my age are not supposed to mourn. Yes, Harry, I am. Things have gotten much better for me, now that I am the ruler of the known world. Oh God, it's already so late. I have to go, Harry.
A tiny golden watch with red straps around her bony little wrists.
We both said a lot of things. We were very young.
It was her. I can feel it. I can see it in her tender long fingers, in her wrists. Her hand wrote it, said those things.
As Queen Regnant, I write a lot of letters.
You need to recite it to her, for effect. All of it. No summaries. Yeah, put a stake through your heart. She'll get hurt too. Collateral damage. She won't get hurt. She'll bend out of the way.
Okay, Harry. Okay, it was morning and you slept. The room smelled of cigarettes and Rowans. There was hoarfrost on the ground when I left. It was autumn, the first one we had together. But you have to understand, it was 1,000,000 years ago. No. It was 100 million years ago. I was someone else then, filled to the brim with love for you, hanging on your every word. Oh, Harry, you were the coolest. But I am no longer that person. This has taken her place. It will devour you. Harry, I will eat your mind.
The light of the video rental shines through her dress now. A DeLorean figure, cut in black, moves below. It's still her. Her legs, her breasts, her hips.
The coolest, with your leather jacket and your boot-cut pants, smoking in the bus stop. I wanted you to be the rest of my life that day. And you were. Some of it, at least. You were my first kiss, my first time to have sex. The first and worst time I fell in love. I will always have that with me. It's a fact. But that is all it is. It's like a ticket stub, Harry. It doesn't do anything anymore. Yes, let's talk about that too. Let's bring it up, the zoo. In Le Jardin, the day we went east of the river, to the aquarium first, I was sad about my mother. I don't even know why. The shimmer of the fish tank on my face, the octopuses. It was just a day then, but to think, were we there now, you could touch my hair, kiss me, talk to me about anything, go virtually anywhere in the world. Not like now. Now our interactions are limited to pain and regret.
That's sharp and precise.
No, it's all you. I always loved you for it, but it could not save us. It could not make me stay. In the end, your mind just told you precisely how bad things are. And who would want to stay around for that? And my crown of immortality? No. You scared her out of me. With your crying, the awful time we wound up having. And the cheap rental flats you could afford. Can't you see? I can never think you're cool again. I can only think that way about new people.
A cheap rental with mold on the walls and the tap dripping.
Yes, I have found someone for whom I can feel the same. A copy of my love for you, only this time he is careful and rich. He will not lose me. It will go somewhere, it will grow.
Your heart burns. Through the blackness you feel the trickle of blood on the mattress below you.
Harry, do you notice how none of this is very funny? I hate being that. I don't want to be anything for you. I hope the decades it takes for you to get over me have already passed. It's here, Harry. We are on Voyager Road. At the end of it, 300 meters from the stop. We used to come here to rent videos. There, you could not pay the electrical bill. It became a lightless tomb. The years you spent training for the militia, my parents' money, it was not good. Is there really anything left? If not, we can always repeat one of the things we have already talked about. Talk about it again. If you do not feel like doing that, then you should let me go to the aerodrome. I don't want it. It looks expensive. I don't want it. That's not what figurines do, Harry.
She looks at the headless Fountain Rider between your fingers and doesn't know what to say. The figurines don't do anything? Anything at all? But I thought the historic figure she had. Yes, I thought it would be good. A form of communication where words have failed. Yes, it was a good idea, but she felt obliged by the headless Fountain Rider to give you things in return, things she no longer wants to give you. So she refused. That's how it goes. Your figurine rider idea was naive.
Harry, I don't want things. I want to go to the aerodrome. I didn't ask for things. It's too late to give me anything. I would have liked the headless Fallen Rider back then.
With your feet trembling from the steps you took, tepid and fearful, you stand against her, her body close to you, radiating warmth. With your eyes closed, you move your lips on her mouth. She is not kissing you back. This was not about failure or success. This was always going to be horror. I should not have suggested it, and you should not have listened to me. Her chest rising like a pillow, warm exhalations against the side of your mouth, her tender soul moving through her lungs. Hidden, distant, kept safe from you. Feels like soft fuzz, a bird covered in down feathers, brushing against your broken capillaries. The world's most precious material, reserved for those she lets close enough to feel it. You are stealing a touch. It's not yours to take. The delicate wreath on her forehead pressing into your temple. The silver is cold from the spring evening air. Her hand does not return the grip. Her body is rigid. A current of unease courses through it. Distrust. For you, the curve of her spine, her shoulders hunched. She keeps herself stiff, her center guarded from your motions, unresponsive to your guidance. Nothing, just pillows against you. Unresponsive, but for the taste of apricots. Apricot-scented chewing gum. The moment is ending. She is going to move her face away from yours, trying hard not to look at you. When she withdrew and you held on to her hand, she tried not to look at your face and see the expression there. Brother, you should put me in front of a firing squad. I have no words for how I failed you.
No, I'm just Dora.
She breathes out heavily, as if something painful has passed through her, and shakes her head. She shakes her head one more time. The evening wind rustles her hair, blowing old newspapers and fast food wrappings down the street.
Why did you do that to yourself? You know I don't cheat, Harry. I never cheated on you. No, Harry. Not yet. There is one more thing you have to see. I'm pregnant. Yes, he did it. I terminated yours. Don't you remember, you poor fuck? You poverty-stricken fuck. Now, go ahead. Ask me more questions. Let's talk about something else.
No, this has to end. Do the last one. More questions. Ask more.
I am actually very ordinary, Harry. Below this gown and wreath, I have an ordinary soul and ordinary thoughts. The only thing inhuman about me is this. This thing you've made me into. I'm sorry for saying so, but I just hate it. What is this? This is so far gone, Harry. I don't even... My lungs do not glow, Harry. I am just like all the others. None of us have glowing lungs. Stop making me into some kind of... Oh, Harry. I don't need you to forgive. It's a good thing for me. It's good news. Why aren't you smiling more?
An apricot-scented ghost wafts out of her, her skin, the fabric, into the flow of the air around you. All the roads will miss her footsteps when she's gone from here. A completely different world.
I have to, Harry. Really, I've already missed the 8:30. I'm gonna go now.
I was wrong. You don't have power over her anymore. You shouldn't have said that. I am wrong about everything. You should go on without me.
No, that would only be painful and dull. At the aerodrome, life, love, and laughter are waiting for me. At the cafeteria, dust, hell, and tragic comedy. Light, life, culture. It's so much better than here. Everything here reminds me of you and the horrible times we had. The nights we stayed up fighting for our dying love. I have to wipe it all off me and be clean again. I want to be a good person again. Not this. Not what you made me into. That was someone else. I betrayed her, overwrote her, and I'm happier for it. And I'm really going now. The time is up. I must be on the 10:20 flight. Yes. I won't see you, but you will see me. Oh, Harry, this is a dream. Can't you see? I'm already in Morova by now. Who knows how long ago this happened? A year? 2? 5 years ago? Right here, tomorrow night. Once this dream starts happening, it keeps happening. 3 times a week, at least. And Harry, it really, really looks like it started happening again. There's the video rental. I'm suffocatingly beautiful and young, and I smell of tutti frutti chewing gum, like I did that time when I asked you for forgiveness, after leaving you the first time, so long ago. Oh yes, this is real darkness. It's not death or war or child molestation. Real darkness has love for a face. The first death is in the heart, Harry. See you tomorrow.
You're up quick. How was your sleep? Of course, I was just thinking maybe you've torn your stitches. Are you ready to move on? Okay.
He's still worried. You must have really thrashed and squealed in your sleep. A strange feeling looking at the water. Maybe you should just wander off into the sea, leave it all, and walk in. Perhaps there's someone there, under the water, waiting for you. Smelling of tutti frutti and betrayal. Maybe you know it's going to hurt. Yes, cold and still, but love is warm like the inside of her mouth. Oh fuck, yes. Go there in your head. It's been days since you thought about her. A week. No, we're not starting with that. Not now. Not this time. This thought is over. In the still mirror of the bay, you see Martinez, reflected. Tall edifices of ruins reach into the water, like shimmering towers. And the shacks too. Pine trees and motor lorries, upside down. Islets and posts, like stepping stones, lead into the water in front of you. Go, step in. It's been too long. There's a rain-soaked mattress on a concrete slab, only half covered by the crumbling roof. At the head of it, double embrasures, firing slits like two eyes in the wall.
This looks like a good place to aim from.
A single-person mattress, modern, civilian use. Brand name, Marjorie. There's a fuel stain on the cover, along with cigarette burns, and an empty can of beans on the ground next to it, filled to the brim with cigarette butts. The silhouette of a tobacco picker adorns the paper filter. The brand, Tio Moteri.
I may have been wrong when I said it wasn't important. This means the same person could have visited both locations. I didn't see any signs of smoking inside, though. If people live there, they keep it tidy. This here may also be a smoking spot.
There's a firing slit in the wall in front of you, like a little window. Quite old and grimy from years without cleaning by anything other than the rain. The springs screech as you lean on the mattress and crane your neck to look out. Trepidation, a tingling feeling in your stomach. A small piece of Martinez coastline opens up in the square in front of you, like a tiny landscape painting. 1 kilometer across the water, the ruins look familiar. A towering skyscraper, its top floors shaved off by artillery fire. Capeside apartments. Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A and 33B. The red chimney and collapsed back of the 4-story tenement in front of the whirling in rags. Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 10. The doomed commercial area. The box-shaped silhouette of the whirling in rags. Its sloped roof, a tiny fleck of light catches your eye on the rooftop, sunlight reflecting off the upstairs window of Clausia's room.
Do you have a line of sight to the window?
More than that.
A pair of binoculars? Or a scope of a rifle? You'd be prone, lying on a mattress, barrel resting on the embrasure.
Cheek against a cheek rest, hand on the hair trigger, on a calm day like this.
Good. I think we have it, Detective. The origin of the shot. This is the sniper's nest.
Affirmative.
In our defense, nothing pointed here. Many leads pointed elsewhere. Don't beat yourself up, officer. We did not put guns in their hands or get them drunk.
The lieutenant pauses. Regret comes over him.
We will make up for it. Here, I feel it. Where?
He does not answer, just nods. With his back hunched, he looks around once more and says,
We should move now.
This old cylindrical generator waits. The lieutenant assists you, holding the canister up to the fuel tank as you tilt. Dark brown, viscous fluid pours out, and the room fills with a chemical smell. There's a red starter switch on the side of the cylinder and a start rope on the other side. The lieutenant flicks the switch. The recoil start wakes the old generator up. The machine sputters like an old warhorse before settling down to a rattle.
That should do it. Downstairs into the console, then from there into the room's electronics.
A dim golden glow animates the console, faint, like a ghost light. Urgence ouvert.
It's on.
Automatic boot. The blast door opens with a series of clicks. A shaft of light appears, then widens as the light shines in.
After you. So did I. Not back there, but I felt it since we came here. I don't know.
A thin wisp of smoke rises from a charred black fire pit. The wind picks up, then dies down again.
Don't worry. I have a gun. I know. It was not easy to acquire.
An old man wearing tracksuit trousers leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth, then spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooded by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Unclouded by cataracts, his eyesight is sharp. He's practically tearing up from spite. Hatred got the best of him a long time ago. This man hates everything.
The what now? I can't hear you. I may have. All sorts of little rats have come sniffing around, trying to give up the position.
The position sounds like a hiding place.
Fire guy. Regressive bourgeoisie henchman. Can't even talk like a grown-up. My eyesight? Yes, helps me see all the shit. I did. And you opened it. How? Reactionary rock and roll music. Playing on the water.
Told you we shouldn't play sad FM. I did.
We have entered a world where he said you shouldn't. It is the only world.
Sad FM, huh? I always hated that station. Phlegmatic, counter-revolutionary dirges. Sadness is a mental illness, a weapon of the bourgeoisie. The fascists were right about rock and roll. It is degenerate, hip gyrating, mental illness music. It's not nice. It's a piece of shit. But it gets the job done. It's a Triangong 446.
Southeast Samaran made. Exotic. Must be defunct too. No modern rifle manufacturer of that name springs to mind.
A Samaran rifle. How did you get hold of one?
It was sent to us by our brothers in the Signal commune. Military aid.
It has stayed true to him. He can still make it sing.
You heard me. It's good now. like chalk wiped from the board.
He's right. Almost no one remembers there was a third metastasis of the World Revolution in the Safre Empire, extinguished in '06.
They wouldn't like hearing their name in your mouth. Damn dog.
The time will come to win his trust, comrade. It is not now. You need to take care of the gun first.
Yes, I bet you've killed a lot of people with it. You fascist fuck. Have you come to make me one of them?
We have come to ask you questions, nothing more. If you do not comply, we will take you in. Do you understand?
Another spitball lands in the ashes. That's all the answer he gives. The lieutenant pulls his pistol from the holster.
You are a glorified night watchman. This is a service rifle. I can only lay it down before an enemy commander of corresponding rank.
The lieutenant aims his pistol square at the man's forehead.
Put it down now.
Or you're gonna blow my brains out before you question me. To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway. It's out of bullets.
Like an amputated limb in the sand. His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stocked and patched in places with tape and wire. The rifle's in a shabby state, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm, made of walnut. They say Triangong 4.46, Sin Yao Commune, for Safre and for all mankind. This is the Vulgate.
What does it say?
That's what the little guys told us. Every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, they go on and on about their Safri, their mankind, and Mazov. Those men were commandos. They weren't shit on a stick like us. They were small and
On the butt, you see Vespertine writing, burned into the wood. Triangon, 4.46mm, made in Sinyao.
No one said it has to be a Belmagrave. We were just guessing.
From ballistics, it could easily have been a Triangon, too.
It doesn't matter if it was made in Shanti Shanti. All it has to do is use jacketed ammunition. And it does. The right type and the right calibre.
He's liking this. The old man keeps following your motion with his gaze. His right arm twitches suddenly. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It can be used against him to get a confession in time.
My name is Josef Lilianovich Dross, Political Commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the 4th Army of the Commune of Revachol. I am a deserter, a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender.
The commune of Revachol? Do you mean the ICM? You're a holdover from the...
From the Insular Indian Citizens Militia, the Army of the Revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in '07, trained in the École de Contrôle Orion, and consigned to emergency defense duties in '08. I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May 14th, the commune had fallen. Still armed and ideologically trained, I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties.
"51 minus 8 equals 43.
No. I've been on other islands, too. I was an Resurrection until they turned it into a spa in '18. Then I was an E-48, a nameless sound, until the sea washed over it. Then I came back here. That was 22 years ago. 43 years and 10 months. It's not how a human being should live. But I had to. I couldn't just forget. I couldn't just forget what I saw.
He just couldn't. He nods, but he can now.
What have you been doing during all this time?
Hiding, fishing, waiting.
Where the afternoon grows late, on Rue de Saint-Ghislain, people walk home. Street lights will soon be lit. Further inland, the streets are alive with workers, men, women, children, street hawks and migrant laborers. The temperature is steady. Alto cumulus clouds form above Precinct 41. Two police officers step out of the Whirling in Rags cafeteria. Satellite officer Jean-Vic Mayer inspects a series of burnt black letters splashed across the plaza mosaic. Patrol officer Judith Minot points west. The fishing village. She glances at her watch. We meet in 15 minutes. It's a 10-minute walk. The officers go, leaving behind the writing, still smoldering. One day, it says, I will return to your side.
Always waiting. For her to return.
Her who?
Girl, child, revolution. Always. The material base for an uprising has eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind and themselves. The historic opportunity for a revolution has passed. It will not come back anymore, however hard I try, whatever I do. I was just 16 years old, 15 when I volunteered. I had a lapse of faith. And of courage, too. You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat and thought Mazovian socioeconomics were fallible. For a second, I doubted the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took for reaction to take hold. May the 13th, 08, 44 years ago. The horizon was black with coalition airships. Their petroleum rose to the sky, and it looked like it formed the clouds, storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic. The combined might of international capital, all at once, all the greed and terror in the world, tore into Revachol. It lifted streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower, huddled on the floor. The artillery was 80 kilometers away in Ozon, but I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned into ash. So I said I was going to the map room.
A terrible shame still within him. The lobes of his ears are red with it. The shame and smallness of what he became.
Nah. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers there, like the weakest of the weak. A mouse, frightened of the ordnance all night, and the sound of the rotors in the morning, whirring. Airships. I climbed out into hell. The landing was complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too, shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels, or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality. The mask of humanity fall from capital. It has to take it off to kill everyone, everything you love. All the hope and tenderness in the world. It has to take it off just for 1 second to do the deed. And then you see it, as it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world. You see the fear and power in its eyes. Then you know that the bourgeois are not human. I had to fight it. I had to never stop. It's not an island, Dwight. It's a defensive fortification of the commune of Revachol. And I am its last surviving defender. The congenitally deformed King Philip II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02. Retrofitted the fort with an AA gun to defend against an airborne landing. Against the whole world. Coalition military called it Operation Deathblow. I later found out on the radio they called it Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Caillou alone. Iblis, the black-eyed angel. How does anyone survive? I steal.
Now hold on there.
supplies, vegetables. I collect rainwater. It's the life of a dog, not a human being.
How is your health, Mr. Dross?
I've been throwing up blood since winter. Red, like beetroot. Been passing it in stool, too.
He does seem frail, gaunt for his age, more like 75 than 65. Trouble putting on weight could mean cancer.
The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over.
I need to die. You don't have medical facilities. You have guns. That's all they give you. Toy guns. I haven't. I have holes in my brain. Years missing. Others filled with pain only. A decade of... I don't even know what. Inferno?
I would imagine it gets tremendously difficult, mentally, to live in isolation.
Traitors. It's better alone. I watch the people of this city turn the lights back on, more and more each year. Ruins, glimmering in the dark, like a fucking merry-go-round. It's disgusting.
Are they not heartbroken? How could they have moved on?
It was hard in the Thames. I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds. Floodlights on the water at night.
There were posters, campaigns.
We communards still hoped, and they needed to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated. Martinez and Cold City were turned to dust. But Jamrock, Forburg, even Coron, and Boogie Street, of course. Those fucking kips had Marsov coursing through their veins. And others too. Some cordons of Revachol was still fighting. There were cells. I tried to contact them. Soon they all went silent. The frequency's dead. At night, I used a dinghy. I only went after dark then. When I got to the city, I stayed underground. Patrols, you lot, the commons too. They'd started snitching.
In the city, you move underground?
From bunker to bunker. Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted. I just... The propaganda bunker. I used to, but not anymore.
Propaganda bunker?
They stored leaflets there. Broadcasting equipment, too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys. A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Kept thinking of them. No need to go underground anymore. It's better in the ruins, on the ground. I don't want to. They're all traitors. Pigs, rabbits, and dogs. Men without ideals are only animals.
He does not want to see life moving on. People forgetting, drinking, laughing.
So you finally found it. There must have been a small squadron's worth of arms in there. Elmer Graves, right? Useless now. Rusted away.
So you've been there.
Sleeping. Some nights. Ammo scrounging on others. Those McGraves were shit, even before they corroded. Some had bullets in the chamber, however.
You feel the dots connecting. Little dots on the map he's walked across.
I do. They're good. Plenty of tar. I like that boy on the pack, too. Reminds me of the last century.
The old man looks across the water, at the city, the ruins, the motorways rising above it.
You're with the RCM, the coalition-appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals in Revachol. Let's. You represent the Moralist International, the enemies of humanity who took this city. I represent their adversary, le Parti communiste dans ce monde. Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon. I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free humanity.
A spray of blood from his mouth on the black charcoal in the fire pit. Rene, the royalist on the coast, said,
Liberal reactionaries signed that instrument. Traitors who should have been burned alive. I answer to the Communist Party.
Is that part of why you've been here all this time? Because the party didn't surrender?
He just wipes the blood from his chin.
Honor is a feudal atavism. My motive is class. No, I am not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army. Trained in historical materialism, then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something.
The old man does not answer. He tilts his silver head and looks at the reeds. You see a small tremor pass through his legs.
His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follows the ideology of the Commune.
Scientific communism. A commissaire politique is a night philosopher of the revolution, a future human.
Awakened from shutdown by the promise of ideology. He was like a cleric, a shepherd. Okay then, over-mystified that a bit. He nods slowly, then another tremor. He looks away to the sea and lets out a cough.
There's nothing serious in this world. It's a farce. I've used it for killing people.
Killing people?
It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want a moralist euphemism? Defending your family and your property. I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people.
Interesting. During or after the war?
There is no after the war. Class war is never over.
So he's continued killing after hostilities ended. Okay, okay. This is it. You can feel it, like battery acid on the tip of your tongue. Something you haven't felt in a while. But this is what you live for. This is the shit. The great serotonin jackpot. The solution. Go in straight. No euphemisms. He doesn't like those. No. Be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up. Remember, he wants to tell you. Get personal.
What did I just say?
What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now.
The who now?
He heard you. He just wants to hear you say it. You're in.
Oh yes, that one. Ugly piece of work, that boy.
Did you kill him?
I am a son of a welder and an officer of the Commune of Revachol. I do not collaborate with murderers and pederasts of the liberal regime.
A drop of blood in the saliva. Exhaust him with proof. Pile it all on him. Get a confession. The gun. The murder weapon is the perfect opener. The scent of blood in the air. But what else? There was something you can't remember. Something about the tracks. Suddenly, all those tracks are so confusing. Go with something else first.
I saw you poking around there, looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead fascies. Did you like the view?
You had direct visibility. There are embrasures in the concrete, specifically meant for a top follower to use. And you had a long-range rifle in your possession. You've been here a long time, Mr. Dross. Too long. You clearly need medical aid.
I'm ready to die. I've done my part.
He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascists for fascists. Done his part.
Because it's a sniper's nest, you stupid fuck. Radio Gosh is right. You have worms in your brain.
Almost. He almost burst out there. Keep piling arguments. Anything.
Not a lot of guns around that use military-grade ammunition, are there?
It's a real gun. Not like your little musketeer pistols. I've seen you prance around with those. Jumping hoops for the liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons, eh? Going against automatic rifles with a flame bomb. Of course you got all those boys killed.
Damn, he saw you. He's watched it happen. He would have a good view of the tribunal from here. It's not just empty boasting. So he saw you. Okay. So what? Don't let it divert you.
You know what? You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. Should we call it? .46 jacketed ammunition, modified for range. We have it. This is it. Good. This feels good, doesn't it? Tearing things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer.
Murder.
Like a marionette on some invisible string. This pushed him, but not enough. Just a little more. Wait, here it comes. The goddamn Maybells. The dried Maybells on Clausia's roof. There were Maybells in the grass when you got here. They're revolutionary symbols from the war. Nowhere else, nowhere in all of Martinez have you seen them this spring. Wait, don't forget the footprints. The diagonal prints in the dust in the secret space behind Clausia's bedroom. Now they're gonna come up. You got it. Remember? The boot prints were like no modern soul.
Damn Maybells. The whole island is turning white with them.
He seems tender suddenly, nostalgic even. A strange mood swing.
So many this year too. The spring is coming. No, it's already here. Wash the filth away. They blossom on the islets before we fertilize them with our blood. Resurrection was snow white in May before they ruined it.
South, the Bay of Martinez is dotted with little freckles of islets, turning green, with white flowers in white snow.
The coast, too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with.
You must get around a lot to stay undetected all these years. Do you know any secret paths? Pinball workshops?
I may. Classier.
He knows her, but hadn't heard the name.
My ears don't reach the city. With the victim.
There is a small tremble, looks like a smile, a crooked smile, yet isn't quite voluntary. He's about to burst. Don't leave any loose ends. Get him on everything.
Everything is brands with you individualists. Who cares what brand my shoes are? Sansa? Some shit.
Show me the souls, please.
Fucking imbecile.
The maker is called Sansariq, and the size is 42 to 44. These are not the unusual horizontal pattern souls you saw in the dust on the floor of the hidden room. They do, however, seem to be about the same size.
The size fits, but not the soul.
Simpler? No. This is another loose thread. The lieutenant raised. What are you doing? He's thinking, not now. Stop yourself.
People change shoes, detective. It was you. You were there, weren't you? Crawling and whirling in rags. What were you doing? Some kind of reconnaissance? Preparing the scene? Listening in on her?
Trying to rack your brains. You're desperate to report something back to your masters. They must have really loved that dead fuck.
The old man stares at his own prints in the ash around the fire. Silent suddenly, some strange process within him. A gush of wind. Seagulls in the distance.
You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer. Armored and armed. He wasn't human. The blunt end of a hammer. Dripping with blood. Beating us to the ground. Moaning with joy. You hounds get so thorough when a company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this coast for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner. Got your attention. Now you stop beating druggies and prostitutes in your basement. Now you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds.
This is it. Shot him. Shot him. Say shot him, not killed him.
Oh, the inhumanity. One paramilitary less in Revachol.
The lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you. Hush. He does not need to be pushed anymore. The ball is rolling, while the lieutenant listens, holding his breath.
I had them in my sights. Both of them. Him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase, and I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth. I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death, and that stupid look on his face. And his dick still in her. Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white, or what's left of it anyway. My last spring here. I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own. And so they did.
Mr. Dross, are you aware you're confessing to murder?
Yes.
And you were looking at them, the victim and a young woman, having sex, through the scope of your rifle that night, before you shot him?
The old man nods.
Why?
Because that's what they were doing.
The motive. This is where the motive is going to come from. You can coax it out of him. The lieutenant's preparing the ground.
I don't understand. Do you, detective? I don't understand this part.
I'm always looking.
Are you always looking through the scope of a rifle? I'm just trying to understand.
A rifle scope has the best magnification.
And if you don't like it?
Click.
Yes. Think of it as a form of critique.
You got him going. Connect every little piece now. Wrap this up like a gift.
Them fucking. I didn't like that. Jealousy is a reactionary concept. I didn't like the Reaver enjoying himself, drugged out, soothed in the arms of a young woman. I wanted him to die so he could not enjoy life anymore. And I wanted to see his head explode. That too. She should know better than to hold a child murderer between her thighs. I knew he'd be there for one more second, writhing. That's all it takes for the bullet to reach his head. Now that I think of it, I wasn't aiming for his mouth. I wanted his brains to spill out on her. But you can't have everything.
This man has seen past her, like you did. And now he longs to see her covered in blood, to punish her.
Since she came to Martinez, I saw her sneaking in the reeds early in the morning, behind the Feld building. It was dark, still winter. She didn't have her skimpy outfit on then, just a spot in the night, moving.
Past the Feld building on the coast? What was she doing there?
Hiding something in the water. She had a fag after she'd done it. I was up in the ruins there. She couldn't see me, but I could see her, smoking. She was nervous, but not scared. Her passport and tickets to Villiers, and from there to Cachet Brut.
In the free state of Seminine, hidden away at the edge of the earth, near the Pale.
Yes, after she'd gone. It was a submersible. Well made, actually.
Sloppy. We should have gotten her to tell us about this. Did you take the documents?
No, I put them back. Why would I take them? I'm not going to phone. Oh, I mean... I did. She had a face like an archipelago, with those birthmarks, and a body hard and lean and bruised all over, black and yellow. I could see she's taken a beating. I could see who she was, too. A spook, on the run. Revachol's the cloaca of capital now. All the bagmen and arms dealers end up here to do drugs and have sex like animals.
You could tell she was a spook from the documents?
She had different color hair on the photo, and glasses. Forged. Some sordid bourgeois affair. I've heard about this kind of thing on the radio.
The bruises, You can't make that out in a scope.
You can't see bruises through a scope. It's just a blur.
It quickly comes to you.
Oh, yes. Cutting those drugs of hers into little lines with a knife. Masturbating
Did you make that hole?
with a clip-point knife.
Good for listening in, too. For hearing the moaning and the snorts.
Like that, too. Yes. Bending like a bow against the glass. I've been through all of Martinez, every nook and cranny. Yes, that too. The things they did in that little room, what she'd do to feel good. Funny the way light works. You turn it on inside, and it gets so dark out, you can't see a man looking in. I learned that in the 20s, when they were still hunting me. I've seen people do some shit, but...
Those two took the cake. You hear the familiar scribble of the lieutenant's pen. A quick glance at you. One more loose end down. We're doing this, detective.
How did you get in there? The hidden pinball workshop.
I can just walk in there now after a good wash. I told you, they think I'm an antisocial. Closing hour is a good time. The kitchen's empty.
You had to open the steel door in the kitchen? How?
I got that open a long time ago. Some bourgeois game merchant lived there. I don't know, 15 years ago. He left spare keys all over, and I took one. Then I saw her turn the light on one night in my scope.
Andy found use for it. A spare key, like the one hanging behind the Union Box window.
She practically breastfed that man. You wouldn't believe the things she let him do to her.
You stare at them too. In your mind, her innocence day still turns to leaf. Airport bag in hand, silks flowing in her wake. See you tomorrow, Harry. Her voice rings in the evening air, burning.
You're delusional. There's nothing to see in the soul of the bourgeois woman. It's the same as the surface. Sick hedonism and desperation. No one gives a shit what you think. You and your cronies kill 10 working-class men a day. I've heard the statistics on Channel 8. There's nothing to hold on to. Only this. It's not enough.
The coals of his eyes glisten suddenly, like stones dripping with water. Is he crying?
Man needs to feel something else. In this fight, it helps if you have your eye on something there. It's weakness, I know. Yes, over the years. It's not unproletarian to feel something. No. I don't really know. I was there one night and she was crying, like a child, in the corner of our room on the floor, like she does sometimes. The day after I killed him. Yes, I don't know why I do the things I do anymore.
It's as if something put the thought there to leave the flowers.
What do you mean, put?
A brief flash of terror.
Maybe. I told you, I have holes in my brain now. I wouldn't just sit here waiting for you. If you came 10 years ago, I would have killed you.
In the silence, the lieutenant draws a line in his notes, then nods at you. One more down.
Her.
The lieutenant nods at you in acknowledgement. That's it. Motive. We have it.
Where is she, that Clasier? I haven't seen her there for days. Locked up with your masters, like I'll be. Maybe we'll meet? She kept staring into the scope, you know. In the end, like she knew. Staring at the island, the fort, like she knew I was here. It doesn't matter.
Across the harbor, on the south bank of the river Esperance, the air stands still outside Precinct 57, a two-story box of duraluminium near the gates to Terminal H. Inside a cell, a young woman is withdrawing from amphetamines, barbiturates, and alcohol all at once, while two men in brown suits wave ICP badges at a young policeman. She hears the door open. And knows it's over. They've come for her. Outside, it's springtime. The river flows blue and green into the Bay of Martinez. There, on a dilapidated jetty in a nameless village, two police officers and one special consultant look across a narrow strip of sea. The ruins of a seafort stick out of the water, built by Philippe II, reappropriated by the Commune, then lost in the landing. He's there, doing what exactly, I don't know. Satellite Officer Vic Mayer points at the ruins. Behind that anti-aircraft something. That's why we can't see him. Special Consultant Heidelstein is optimistic. We'll see the boat when he comes. Let's go get a coffee until then. I know this interesting little place. Where? As the men go, Patrol Officer Minnow looks back over her shoulder at the crumbling fortification like a rotten tooth rising out of the water. Good luck, Harry, she thinks. You need something good for this.
We could get more. We've got him talking.
Who knows what he's seen and done over the years? You could get more out of him. He likes talking.
A tragic comedy. Druggies, prostitutes, and rentiers.
A strange little engine seems to fire up in him again. It straightens his back.
Specifically, the whole city is a charnel house. Stripped clean and draped in neon. But Martinez, Martinez is the worst. Because of the racists, everyone is a racist in Martinez. It's their favorite thing to do in the whole world. Listening to race-themed radio shows. In the ruins, in their lorries. Pumped full of steroids and Radio Revachol 92. Race this, race that. It's all sanctioned by that Social Democratic Union and the farce of a Social Democrat who runs it. Yes, the fly larva in his container. He let some nihilistic advertising yuppies erect a statue of Philippe III, a syphilitic murderer, on the town square, to spit on the working class. Not since the serfs of ancient Pericarnassus has history produced a more inert social class than the Martinez proletariat. The rest of Revachol at least pretends to rebuild. These people still live in ruins. Intense, like animals, like those boom-boom morons on the ice. A pity they didn't drown in that tent of theirs. The worst of them is the blood-drenched Sucrion on a yacht, licking her lips. The old whore's gone now. Her gun-toting porcelain men are dead. So, actually, no. The worst is that old cop parading around in his uniform, throwing balls all day. It's not enough that the racists and liberals are dancing on our graves. The old loyalist ghouls still parade the ruins too. Every morning he's there, while the parasites he fought to protect are off in Ozon, or Coyamoran, or some other island they built their palaces on, feeding on drugs and having sex with their own children. That's all the rich really want. Sex with their own children. Throughout history, even the royal bloodline of the suzerain, it's all just an excuse for them to have sordid sex. At least that old cunt, Frisell, is now dead. We did good when we pushed him under that horse car. If only, in the 30s, those disco whores...
The disco whores are too much. Hatred shuts down his brain's language center, leaving only a nonsensical sputter. Ask about that cock on parade too. Make sure you get everything here.
Whores. Another hideous disappointment. Unions are the real enemy. The true enemy of the proletariat. Placating the masses.
Disappointment. So personal. He displays a familiarity with the union's top brass.
That deformed toad? I wouldn't expect him to wipe his own ass. I mean, the brains of the operation. The smart one.
Edgar.
He talks a big game about uprising and social base. They must have sent the smart one to some university in Le Jardin, where it's alienation this and hegemony that. First against the wall with him.
The Clares wouldn't miss a man hidden in their own backyard. Not all this time. Nothing happens in Martinez without them knowing.
Of course. Maybe the Clears asked him to. Don't go straight for the kill. Exhaust everything else first. Soften him.
I haven't approached anyone. I hid. It was Edgar who came to me.
How did he know you were here?
He didn't just stumble in like an oaf. He figured it out. Some kids told him about a monster on the island. I told you, he has brains. Stepped right off the boat and walked down where you came. I even kept the door open for him. Thought he was a man of the left, wouldn't rat me out. I was right about one of those things. 20 years ago, neither of them could walk now, could they? They were less fat then.
That's around the time the Clears came to power.
Edgar did the talking. Paid his respects like I were a fossil in a uniform. Offered platitudes about the struggle. Flaunted his pink degree. Even quoted Marzoff. Never trust a social democrat who quotes Marzoff. Oh, and charity too. They love their charity. Offered me blankets and social housing. I still have the gas cooker he brought. Let me be here. The ZOC is an unlawful successor of the Commune of Revachol. We took this fortification from the Loyalists. Even the Clares understand this.
They let him be here. Understanding was a courtesy. But why such a courtesy?
You know why I killed that fucker, Dwat. As to Edgar, I'm not doing anything for that swine again.
Again? What have you done for Edgar before?
Tried teaching him some Marzovian socioeconomics. They didn't stick. We parted ways.
Okay, he didn't do the hanged man for them, but he's insinuating something. The connection comes to you like a splash of cold water. Dark, cold water.
Hey.
He acknowledges it. Here we go. A twist behind the dark bend.
That bourgeois cow. Tiffin Holly was her name. Licked the rich man's hand every time he came to town. Never seen a labor leader so hot on mutual cooperation. And money. She liked that too. That Holly was a real bridge builder and a deal maker. Called in, they say, on the eve of battle, ran away, vanished like a piss stain.
No, that's not quite it, is it?
Did she? They say her daughter called in, not her personally. But that wasn't really her daughter, was it?
No, I guess it was not. She couldn't make the call herself.
Here it is. The Ben.
Because she was dead.
Just say nothing.
The cow caught a bullet in her right lung, fell into the canal grasping her tit and drowned. Or bled? Hard to say. It was a sloppy job, and a moving target. She was going home, waddling, dressed in yellow, drunk like she often was. The ruins were black around her, and she had a yellow leather bag under her arm. She tried to cross the canal, heading home to Grand Couronne or Betancourt, someplace like that, where they build those new bâtiments for the people who flourish in the hell around her, and the ruins. Someone shot her, or maybe the cow just fell. My memory is full of holes. Nothing changed. Not in the material base, not in the hegemony. There was no uprising. Just words. The Union fizzled, sogged. Nothing came of it. Nothing.
Edgar didn't keep his part of the deal. If you were to testify to this, give the RCM something on Edgar, you could walk. We would strike everything you've done and process you as a POW. You were in a war. You were on assignment. We could even extradite you to the Samaran People's Republic.
A degenerate worker state. Goat shit. No, thank you. I'm Revacholian. My days are short. I will rot away here, in a moral intern cell. I will not testify to anything. All you know is I saw it happen, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Her plump body bobbing up and down in that canal like a cork. That chick yellow bag still on her, strangling her.
The same old freezing hatred. There is plenty here to work with once he's in custody, and the lieutenant knows it. He gives you a little nod to proceed.
Every fucking morning for 34 years. Throwing that ball. One ball against the other. I've always loathed that game. That is not a working class game. I don't care what. Royalist ghouls played like it was life itself. Click, clack across the water each day. And that uniform, like a parrot plumage. I won't even mention that he's a traitor to his race. A Patank maniac race traitor. I remember him. I remember him from La Noce. Not him personally, his make and model. There were tens of thousands of them. I thought we took them all out before the liberals came to their rescue. We missed one, that one.
There doesn't seem to be a single person under the pine today. Not even Gaston. Alone.
Fat and plump, like a pheasant. Just begging to be popped off. Please, Mr. Tross, shoot me. Not yet. I like to look at him strut around, place the crosshair on his medals, right on his face, and just fiddle the trigger. Think about it. Let the bonbon melt in my mouth.
Save the treat for later?
He is a juicy bonbon, that one. A real treat for the black day. The blackest. When I put that gun in my own mouth, I think, no, don't waste it. Put this lead in that cock, Rene. For the boys he killed. And then I look at him throw those balls, and I suddenly feel better. I even hid one bullet, so I'd always have one for him. Haven't seen him around lately, strutting around. Must be down with arthritis. I hope it hurts like hell. I hope he sweats blood.
Hearing it may destabilize him. You sure you've gotten everything from him?
No. I waited too long. I waited too long, and now he's dead?
I'm sorry, Mr. Dross. I understand you knew him for a long time.
They're all dead now. Fuck it.
If he really wanted to kill him so bad, he would have done. There must have been 1,000 black days on these islands. His health ailing.
And I blew them all. What does it matter now? He's gone. Ancient dust.
He reminded him of himself. The same hatred. The same. You tried to think of something else.
All human beings care about each other. I cared for seeing his head explode. Now, God damn this world. Fuck you. You think I haven't seen people die? It's all I've seen them do. Fuck and die. All the other plans we had. To love. To colonize the Pale. It's all fucked.
He's not okay. This is just another black day in a row of black days. Something strange is keeping him together, making him endure.
Glad we talked about what? I ain't